So, Annie Thorisdottir, welcome back to Iceland. When did you get back?
We came back, landed Tuesday morning after the games. We left on Monday.
Oh, okay, so you didn't spend a lot of time. You're anxious to get back home, I assume.
Yeah, I was ready to go back home. I went to see my daughter, and it's great to hang out. Usually we stay in the States a little bit after the games, enjoy a little bit of downtime, relaxing before we come home. But usually my whole family is also there, so it's a little bit different than this year. This is the first time my parents actually don't go to the CrossFit Games as well.
And so Freyja was still back in Iceland, right?
Yeah, so Freyja was in Iceland with my parents, so
Hey,
wanted to get back home.
no, absolutely, completely understandable. So, this is your first game as a mom, and also, having to be away from your daughter. What was that like?
Um, it was harder than I expected it to be. I thought it was a little bit silly when women had a hard time leaving their kid for a little while. It's not that I judged them for it, but I was like, I did not think that I was going to be like that. Um, it was really difficult for me just leading up to the games, thinking about leaving her behind. I was like, we're gonna figure it out. I was just staying optimistic that we were actually going to be able to go all together to the States. They were gonna open, or we were gonna get visas for everyone. So I just pushed it to the side because I didn't want to think about it because I just started crying thinking about it. Um, but then when it came down to it, it was like, okay, I need to just suck it up. And I told Frederick on the airplane over, I was like, if I want to go home tomorrow, we might have to just go home tomorrow. He's like, yeah, I know. And we just did it I thought about it as first one long weekend. I had managed to be away from Freyja for one long weekend when my parents took her over semifinals. So that was 2 nights away from me, and I thought that was really difficult. And there I took just one night at a time. And now it was like, okay, I can do that one weekend. And then I made it into a one long weekend. And then I made it into a week. And then I was already halfway in. And I knew that she wasn't gonna, if she would have come to me to the States, she would have been miserable for the games week because I wouldn't have been able to be with her at all, really, during that time. So it was I knew it would be easier once we would get to the games, but it was harder than I expected it to be.
Hmm.
I had to have a phone call with her every morning and woke up with a bunch of videos, and yeah, it was a different situation to be in for sure.
And you weren't the only athlete in a similar circumstance. Cara Saunders, longtime competitor and friend of yours, was also very vocal about
Yeah.
just how challenging that was. Did you guys have an opportunity to talk about that together at the games and sort of share how things were going for each of you?
Very briefly, because honestly, almost as soon as we started talking, I started I would just tear up. It's like when you know someone knows the way that you feel, same as when I saw Maria, or she when someone understands the feeling that you're going through, it kind of breaks you down a little bit more, if that makes sense. It's like you get that comfort, you get that empathy from them. So it's almost better just to put up that wall. But yeah, we talked a little bit about it, but it was better for both of us to try to not to talk about it, to be honest.
Yeah.
And I totally get that it was even though Freyja is younger, I totally get that it was probably even more difficult for Kara because at least I felt like I could go home tomorrow if I wanted to. But for her, it's a plane ride away, more than one plane ride away, and she had to be in a 2 week
Two
quarantine
weeks, right? And
afterwards.
she's still in it.
That's crazy. So
You know.
for me, the reason maybe I was a little bit paranoid at the games, I wasn't taking pictures with as many people as I would have wanted to, or I took pictures with most people that wanted, but I kept some distance. But that was because I wanted to make sure that I would get home to Iceland. If I would test positive for COVID at the airport, I had to do a test at the airport. If I would test positive, I would have to be in the States for 2 weeks.
Wow.
And that
Yeah.
was just not going to happen. So I was making sure that I was being careful.
Yeah. Well, now you're reunited. You've reunited with your daughter. The
Yes.
games, your 11th CrossFit Games has happened. By the way, you're the only female CrossFit athlete who's ever competed in Aromas, Carson, and Madison. Aromas, original Aromas. We're talking for those who are newer to the
Yeah.
sport. There was a time when Aromas was normal and not a COVID contingency. And so, kind of. what was your feeling going into your 11th CrossFit Games? You're the longest running female individual CrossFit Games athlete ever. And it's kind of a return to a more normalized format. From the competitive side, what kind of goals did you have and how are you feeling going into it?
Um, I honestly wasn't really thinking about like, oh wow, this is my 11th games, you know? It was more, I cannot believe that I'm actually competing again this year. Because my journey leading up to the games this year has been really, really hard. And on so many occasions, I did not believe that I was going to compete. I didn't really dare to give myself the expectations to be able to compete at the games, that I would be ready. Um, so it's kind of funny. Like, I don't want this to sound bad, but I was grateful after the Open. I was grateful after quarterfinals. I was so grateful after semifinals that like every time I surprised myself, and I felt way better than I expected to feel and performed better than I expected to. But during Open and quarterfinals, I had to hold myself back because my body wasn't quite ready.
Hmm.
And then in semis, I got to just go, and it felt amazing. Like it felt so good to compete again. Obviously, there were still some things that I had to be thinking about and be cautious about, but I had to also test myself because if I would feel worse afterwards, I would definitely not be able to train and be ready for the CrossFit Games. Like I had to start increasing my volume. Um, and then after getting third place there, everyone were like, "Oh my God, you qualified for the games! Like it's amazing! Congratulations, you qualified! Like that's the success." It's like, how does it feel to have qualified for the games? Like, well, I don't want this to be disrespectful to anyone, but my goal has never been to qualify for the games. My goal, I have competed multiple times, and my goal is always to perform at the games. My goal is to compete at the games. And therefore, my training after semis, I was doubting a lot if I was going to compete at the games and wasn't sure if I was going to compete because I didn't feel like I wanted to do it to myself to go up there and not be ready, you know? Feel like physically and mentally I was not ready to compete. And therefore, I was being 100% honest. I even going to the US 2 weeks before the games, 1 week before the games, yeah, just over a week before the games, I was not 100% sure if I was going to compete at the games. Yes, I had put in so much more. I had started running and it felt better. I started lifting weights and it felt so much better. And I was getting in the groove, but I had to feel how I would feel when I would get to the States. And everything felt like it was in the right place and I felt like I was ready to compete. No, I had definitely not maxed out and everything, and I was definitely not my same. Uh, but I felt like I could push myself without being scared. And I could run and I could lift weights and I didn't have to think about, oh my God, I hope this isn't going to show up, you know? And then I felt like I owed it to myself to compete because I have worked my ass off this year. This year has
Yeah.
been really, really difficult year. And therefore I owed it to myself to compete if I was ready for it. So I was going there a little bit front and back. I didn't want to just participate and be 40th, you know, show up and
Right.
wave. I wanted to show up and actually do my shit, you know?
Well, and that's
No way
clearly
I expected
what
to
you
be
did.
third place though. I had no expectations for that, but my goal was I did not want to get caught this year. Like
Yeah.
I did not want to do that to myself again.
Yeah. Well, okay, so let's talk about the, sort of trajectory. It's a 15 event competition. So, I mean, a lot happens. There's some highs, there's some lows and stuff. You started
Yeah.
off just fine and you're kind of in the middle of the pack. You're in a good spot. And then all of a sudden you see Annie just kind of start slowly picking up points a little bit. And then all of a sudden you wake up and you're like, oh, wow, is she like in sixth or seventh? And then it's like, is she in fifth? And then it's like, whoa, she's in fourth now. At what point mentally, though, did you see did that turn on for you where you're like, hey, I'm in this, I've got a podium shot, I'm ready to do this, I'm going to push my body? At what point in the competition were you like, did you have a light switch that just changed and all of a sudden you're like, all right, Annie's back, this is time to go?
Yes, I kind of did. So this year, I broke the games into 3 games for myself. So my number one CrossFit Games was the events leading up to the first cut. So the first 9 events. That was my first CrossFit Games, and my goal was to not get cut. And then I got my second CrossFit Games, and I got to do the run workout. And usually I'm really nervous about the running workout, the long running, and especially this year because I hadn't done that much of it. And I am so proud of myself for that run that I did. And that was my CrossFit Games number 2. And then I made it to CrossFit Games number 3 for myself, and that was finishing the games. And there I didn't have to think about anything except for just go. And I think I noticed that I stood a chance of being top 10. And I was like, I'm in the final heat. And that was my goal. I was going to be in the final heat. And that's where I'm going to stay, and I'm going to make sure that I stay there, you know? At what point did I realize that I stood a chance of podium? I realized I stood a chance of podium going into Sunday, but I did not let myself even dream of the podium until after the final event. Because Holte is a really, really legit good athlete.
Consistent too.
And so consistent. And I didn't know it was going to show up. And when we had that lift handstand push-ups, I'm like, yeah, I'm great at it, but so is she. And then we had the chest to bar, and I'm like, you know,
Yeah.
she's really good at chest to bar, and I don't have 100% confidence in my chest to bar yet. Like, I'm really good at chest to bars too, but I'm not as good as I used to be. So like when we were even points going into that event, it was just who's going to be faster. And I didn't want to feel like I didn't want myself to be heartbroken if I would have gotten 4th, because that would be so unfair towards myself, which is why I didn't let myself believe that I would get 3rd until it actually happened. I knew it was a possibility, but also knew it was going to be really hard. So therefore, when I got off the pull-up bar and I got to the barbell, I'm like, oh my God, this might be happening. And then I'm like, calm down, don't get overly excited, stay in it. And then when I crossed the finish line, that's like, I freaking got 3rd. So yeah, not until that moment.
Well, and I was in the Coliseum on the rare occasion that I actually got to be in the Coliseum to watch. That was one of them, and the crowd was just like, right behind you, like, pick up the bar, come on, you know, because they knew it, right? They knew. I think they were very invested in your success as you're the legacy CrossFit Games out. You've been around longer than anybody else has, and you're continuing to do an amazing job doing it and being competitive. But they were invested, man. I could hear them. They're like, everyone was cheering for Annie. I mean, they knew Tia had won. They knew Laura was taking 2nd. They were like, okay, that's great, that's fantastic, good job, guys. But Annie, you got to get the barbell. Like, you got to pick it up. I was standing next to people in the press pit area that we had up there, and they were just like, come on, Annie, you know, and they were the one that you were cheering for because I think that they knew, through your own storytelling, that this had been a tough, challenging season for you physically, emotionally, mentally, and to see you come back, I think it also gave them hope that they could go through tough times as well, and that they could take that and they could say, well, you know, if Annie can do it, then so can I. Whatever challenges you're taking on in your own life, right? Whether it's competitive or non-competitive, work-related, relationship-related, or whatever. So it was cool to be there to see that, especially since it was a great games moment too, you know. And
it really was. Yeah,
I was a fan in that
incredible moment. Thank you.
I want to ask you about another turning point in the competition. This is one that, you know, as analysts, we wouldn't have said, oh yeah, Annie Thorisdottir, definitely going to be right there in the snatch event. And that was not, the analyst would not have picked you and Tia to be going head to head as the 2 final athletes. And I don't.
Hey, why?
Well, not because you're not strong, but Tia has been traditionally extremely dominant in that event, and I think you were even expressing a level of surprise, which we've caught on camera a number of times, and I think your face says it all in that instance. You seemed a little bit surprised hitting those numbers. When was the last time you snatched 200? And kind of as you're going through this toe to toe, what was your What was going on in your head? Like, describe that experience.
So Snatch is one of the lifts that has been feeling good in training. And one of the ones I started being able to do sooner than a lot of the other ones after my pregnancy. Still hadn't gone like super heavy until like before semis. Before semis, I managed to hit some legit numbers, not 200. So I hit last time I hit 200. That's pretty much my lifetime max, right on there, like 202, 203 or something.
Yeah.
And that's, I don't know, 2-3 years ago that I hit that.
Wow.
I knew that I could hit 190. I knew that I could hit 195 if it was like a fantastic day and everything would go great. Then I'm like that could happen, but it's very unlikely that's going to happen in competition. And it's stressful, like with the snatch, it's so stressful because you could also fail at one of the lighter weights. It's like keeping the balance, being steady, and in warm up, like it was a little wobbly leading up to it. And then when some of the other girls start dropping out, and when I realized we were only 5 left, it was like, wow, mission accomplished. Like, I wanted top 10 in this event, and I would be ecstatic if I would get top 5 in this event. So then I was just like, every bar I hit, I was like, it's such a fantastic feeling when you hit that good snatch. And I know once I'm underneath it and got it
you can see it
stable,
on your
I'm
face.
gonna
All
be
of a
able to
sudden,
stand
it's
it
like,
up. I was
and
like, oh,
you knew.
it's there. And yeah, I don't know. I had a hard time hiding anything that I was feeling. Honestly, like in almost every single event this year, I did not hide any of my emotions. It was just, I was there in the moment. I was determined to soak it all in. I was determined to enjoy it. And I really, really did this year. And I was so excited when I hit those weights. And it's funny seeing some of the videos now. It's like Tia is so focused, Laura is so focused, and like you should be focused. But I'm like, whatever, I'm here, I hit this. I am so excited. It's like, what's next? What's next? It's like, yeah, I was all over the place. I'm actually surprised that I was hitting some of those weights. But yeah, I think I let myself not overthink it, and I think I let myself just enjoy it, and I think I let myself just dare to drop underneath and see what would happen. Worst case scenario, I'll fail the lift.
Right.
So yeah, it was a fantastic moment when I hit the 200, and then when Tia failed it, I was like, oh, okay. And then when we're lining up, I'm like, okay, I know that she's shorter than me, so she's gonna cycle it faster. But if I just drop really fast underneath and try to pop it out, I could beat her. I'm like, I'm gonna beat her. I'm gonna win this event. Like I'm gonna win the snatch. And then we line up and I run to the bar and I way over pull it. I'm like, there it is. It's gone. It's gone.
That drop down from 200 down to 155 is like a massive weight differential.
That was a big drop down.
So I want to ask you about this thing that we noticed later on in the snatch event. You started to put your finger out, right? What is that?
Yeah.
I've never seen you do that before. So what was that? A training technique or a focusing technique?
Oh, I've done it for years now, actually. Maybe people don't catch it on camera, but very often before an event happens, if I feel like I'm getting a little bit, especially in the snatch, I was like all over the place. Like people could tell my emotions and everything. And when I lift up my finger and do that, it just gets my eyes focusing on one point, and I'm reminding myself to stay centered. So trying to block out some of the things that's happening. When I get to the bar, actually, like I use the crowd a lot. And during an event, I use the crowd a lot. But before I lift my lifts, like I need to stay centered and I need to focus. And that was what I was doing, getting my eyes on one point and staying centered.
Okay, that's really cool.
Yeah.
No, I don't know if the cameras really caught that before, but also, at the games, you don't usually have one lifter in that moment, in that center
Yeah.
moment, in the middle of the crowd, where literally all cameras. A lot of times there's ladders or 1, 2, 3 lift and 1, 2, 3 lift. They've done different ones, and so that was
Yeah.
new to me, and I know a lot of fans noticed it for the first time, and
Uh-huh.
the cameras really honed in on that on the live stream, and you're like, oh, that's interesting. I was like, what is she doing? Is it like a signal to, Frederick, or I don't know, so it's cool.
No, even
Um,
before some like yeah, Metcons or whatever it is, like if I need to just like let myself out, relax a little bit, and just get focused, then that's what I do. Yeah.
okay. All right, I have a non-games related question. What is one hobby that you have that doesn't involve CrossFit or training?
Ooh. I
And it
love
can't be ice cream.
camping.
Oh, you like
Camping.
camping? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, we
Yeah.
have something in common.
It's really, really fun. Well, especially here in Iceland, like I think it's so much fun. Like my family goes together, some not necessarily like camping grounds, but just somewhere out in the country and then
Mm.
go sightseeing and spending times together in the summertime. It's so nice because the sun is out the whole night, so you just sit outside, like talk, sing songs. Yeah, love
Okay.
it.
All right. Very good. Well, I didn't. Not that I didn't ping you for the outdoors woman, but you know, that's cool. And I share that with you. I've actually been to Iceland a couple of times, as you know, and we saw each other at the Reykjavik CrossFit Championship. But I went there snorkeling in Silfra,
Oh,
which, if you've
that's
never done,
amazing.
is wild and completely blows your mind. Anybody who's listening to this who's never done this, if you ever go to Iceland and you think snorkeling is for you, well, this is probably the best snorkeling experience you'll ever have in your entire life. Have you ever done it?
I have not. I have gone there though, and in it, and I'm allowed to go snorkeling there and go diving there. I just need to find like the time to do it.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
but I have seen
Highly recommend
so
it.
much footage of it, and my dad has done it, and yeah, a lot of my friends have done it. It's on my to-do list.
Definitely worth it. I can highly recommend it, especially if you had a nice sunny day like the day I did it, and it wasn't overcast or cold, which is not exactly. Well, it was a bit of a rare day, I was told. So I was very excited about that because the
You want
water's
the sun out.
extremely cold.
It's so cold, but it's so clear. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So you've had the CrossFit Games. You've been back for about a week now. What does the off season look like, and are we going to see you in any of these kind of big off season competitions?
So yeah, I usually give myself like a week after the games, just not think about anything, make any plans, and I've never planned another competition uh leading into the games. Right now I'm itching to get going again. So I think Rogues is probably the next one you're gonna see me at. I haven't planned anything more, but yeah, if everything works out, if I feel great when I start training again, then Rogue will be the next one.
Okay. All right. Last question, and we'll give you back your evening. Many fans are curious how long we're going to see Annie competing at the CrossFit Games. And oh, hello, Freyja.
Hello.
And are we going to see you back at the CrossFit Games next year? And do you have any plans for how long you plan to continue to compete?
I have not made any decision. Like I said, I always do 1 year at a time. Ever since 2013, I do 1 year at a time. So it'll be the same this year. Like if it's like any other years, then you will see me at the games again. Like I feel great. I love training and yeah, body and mind. I felt great physically and mentally after the games this year. So who knows? But yeah, we'll see. We'll probably see me there.
Fair enough.
Why
Fair enough.
change? Why change anything?
I think that's great. Third in the podium, third place, podium finish, racked up another one for your career. I know fans would love to see you back. So, hopefully we will. And best of luck in the training and the off season. I'm sure you deserve it. You enjoy it. Great time to hang out with your family. And hopefully we're going to see you at Rogue. I might be there myself. And I know fans will love to see you out there on the floor again. So,
Cool. Thank you. And thanks
Thank
you
you.
guys.
Bye, Freya.
Bye.